of situations where you can just leap into Pro League and do well. It takes time to really get going, especially for teams like MVP. They're used to things like GSTL, now they're in Pro League, they're up against the most experience that StarCraft 2 has to offer, and frankly, they are equipping themselves really well, and DRG does actually have quite a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's done pretty well in Pro League, and the thing about Pro League that I think a lot of people like underestimate when we bring up the stats or how well someone's doing in Pro League is they're like, well, he's only got DRG's only 46% or whatever it is in Pro League right now, but it's not like this is his record against all pro gamers. This is his record against the absolute world's best because they keep coming out over and over and over. It's not like every pro gamer gets to play in Pro League. It's the best 4 or 5 players on every team play almost every single time. So that's like super impressive.
Yeah, and we are talking about best of 1 format. This is best of 3 double tournament group stage. And his form right now, actually against every race, is solid, but statistically, his recent form, I believe in the last 18 matches, has been very good against Protoss. I believe it's something like a 66% win rate right now against that, so that's not too shabby. The recent defeats he's managed to put on the board, he 2-0 Creator in the qualifiers for Anaheim. He has, of course, lost to Paralyzed, but of course he did also beat Paralyzed before that. That is the curse of the dual tournament coming in there. He recently beat Stats. He recently beat Squirtle, both in Pro League. He beat Squirtle again in the GSL Global Championship. He barely lost to Parting, as you're well aware. He can still put it out there. And then we have HerO, who actually is hitting a bit of a bumpy road at the moment. It's very strange to see like the 2 favorites for WCS America, Jaedong and HerO, knocked out again and again. Both went out in the round of 32, which is very surprising.
Well, as you well know, WCS America has become quite stacked over the years. It actually kind of looks like an older GSL Code S. So
it does, yeah.
It's to fall, it's sad, and we'd love to see HerO get further, but it's inevitable that sometimes you're going to fall out earlier than you want in a tournament that tough.
Yeah, it will happen, and it did happen, I think, at the behest of PvP after PvP, actually, for HerO in particular, so that does certainly happen. But the WCS system has prevented us from enjoying DRG versus HerO for a very long time, and I think it is about time that we address that injustice,
Yes. It's a great way to put it. I'm looking forward to this. It's been a long time coming, and it's really hard to say who's going to be able to take this game.
Yeah, certainly. And I think both of these guys on a good day have what it takes to take out either of the Kesper players, and I'm hoping that we don't see these guys plummet in this group, because of course Zest and Byung are sitting as favorites, but I would never underestimate either of these guys. Ridiculously tenacious and can bring it when it counts.
That's right. Either one of these guys could get out of this group. I would say that Zest is kind of a favorite here, but you can't say ever that DRG or HerO just isn't going to make it out of the group.
No, because every time people say that, they get proven horribly wrong. Everyone was saying, oh yeah, HerO's past his best, and then he just goes and wins IM Cologne out of nowhere, and he looked pretty much untouchable, especially against Zerg, I might add. I was telling you about that match against Jaedong where I was just tearing my hair out in frustration. When it comes to Protoss mechanics, I hesitate to use the term abusive, but if I were to use it, I would definitely use it to describe what HerO does with warp prisms, because it is a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
That is for sure. I'll agree with you there, Totalbiscuit.
Alright, Overgrowth will be the first map here in our best of 3 series. One will advance to play the winner of Byung and Zest. One will, of course, fall to the losers bracket. We'll see who it will be in this best of 3, as we do not, in fact, get that. Oh, that was a quick GG. There we go. DRG, unfortunately, failing with the loading there.
Yeah.
If only he was using a Sandisk Extreme Pro SSD to load this game. He would have already been in it, and we would have begun the match. But unfortunately, he did not.
Yeah, and you know what? If he happened to be using it and it failed, don't worry. 10-year warranty. No problem.
Indeed. Absolutely. 10-year warranty, which is pretty much longer than almost any pro gamer's career.
That's for sure. By year 10, you're becoming a commentator. That's
yeah,
what's
no doubt.
Happen.
No doubt. Now you're joining EG with a nice fat paycheck, and you're relaxing and casting whatever you damn well please.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. Well, I mean, now that we have to wait for this to be remade, we know the map order. It's going to be Overgrowth, Frost, and King Sejong Station. I think that that is about as good a map set for these two players that you can get. I feel like all three of those maps are pretty fair both ways and kind of go in different ways. Like maybe Overgrowth is slightly Zerg. I know that Protosses love to choose Frost. And King Sejong Station, even though like really late game can become quite a Stormhost map and is pretty good for mutas all game, definitely Protoss can be quite maneuverable there. So it's a good map set to start out on.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It looks like we're getting everyone back into this game, so that means I can turn the versus screen back on again, and we'll go and try it once more into this. Interestingly enough, it was HerO that picked Overgrowth, and it was DRG that picked Frost, and of course, King Sejong picked itself. Indeed.
Okay, that's not what I was expecting, but sometimes we see stuff like that. Well, we'll see how that works out for HerO on Overgrowth. You know, he's always had his own crazy ideas, I'd like to say, about, you know, the way to play matchups and like how to play it on certain maps. Definitely a very stylistic player.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you were to talk about stylistic Protoss, Liquid HerO would be top of the list. There's no doubt about that. And it's his flair that brought him so many fans. And if he couldn't execute it, nobody would even pay attention to him. But he can. Time and time and time and time again. His execution is so very good. People call him top 1 control for a very good reason. He can be that good. But he also has a bit of inconsistency. He can tilt.
Sometimes he relies a little bit too much on his control, thinking he can pull off things that nobody can.
Yeah. And unfortunately, every now and again, that is his Achilles heel. But we will see whether or not it serves him well today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 2 of the Sandisk SHOUTcraft Invitational. This is Group B, and this is your first match. To the northeast position, I present to you our first contender. In the red trunks playing Zerg, the final boss himself, MVP, Dongregu.
And in the bottom left of our map, haven't seen him doing too much in a little bit. Still an amazing micro-base player. It is Liquid HerO.
Still pops out in Pro League now and again. Does pretty well for a rather bloated IM roster at this point. They've been taking all the other teams, of course. They brought StarTale on board, and then it's like, well, I would like to borrow some Liquid as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's for sure. You know, and they have a very good roster as well with players like Life, Trap, Younghwa, you know. The list goes on. Good depth. He doesn't get to play as much as some people, but he's over 50% at 6'5".
Yeah.
And that's solid, man. When you look at the level of competition in Pro League, the fact that this guy can travel as much as he does and still have over 50% in Pro League just speaks to his skill.
Yeah, there is a reason why the vast majority of Kesper players are basically landlocked in Korea. They're not going anywhere, and even when they're given the opportunity, many of them turn it down. As we saw with DreamHack Bucharest, there was a spot open for a Kesper player, and I believe, wasn't it HerO was about 5th or 6th on the list after 5 other players turned it down? Which, I think, speaks their dedication, you know?
It's, you know, especially when you're in a Kespa team, it's really, really important, or an original Kespa team. It's so important to do well in Pro League. That's really oftentimes what your paycheck is based off of. It's what your coaches value the most. So,
it is.
You know, it's hard for them to get out and travel to these events, whereas HerO's very lucky to be on a great supportive team like Team Liquid, which would like him to do such things as travel.
Alright, well, DRG kicking things off with an economic bang. 3-hatch before pool here from DRG. And we also saw a Nexus first play from HerO.
Yeah, this is the greediest build against the greediest build. You know, the Nexus first into Gateway behind your minerals, that is the Protoss equivalent of 2 hatcheries before your pool. So it looks like these guys gearing up for some pretty solid macro to come.
Yeah, it seems like that is the case, and I'm glad to see our game start off that way. HerO just kind of sharking around and threatening, but I believe that DRG does know that the Nexus is down. He got his Overlord over there nice and quick. It's not a particularly big map, so if HerO is trying to pretend that something's going to be dropped, then DRG isn't biting, and he's just keeping an eye on that probe just to make sure that it doesn't have free reign.
Well, the probe just kind of checking for gas timing, seeing, oh, do you have gas yet? Nope, turns around, and of course, as soon as he turns around, DRG's like, oh, you were checking for my gas? Well, I'll take some gas now.
Yeah, why not? Now would be a great time to do that. But very, very greedy openings from both players, which usually bodes fairly well, although there's certainly nothing stopping a Protoss player going into a big 2-base play off the back of this.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility, and HerO is a player that, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he mixes in some 2-base builds here today. It's just, when your control is that good, you're oftentimes going to rely on all-ins, because with less units you can do more, and that's something that we see from parting as well. And as I was saying yesterday, HerO was parting before parting was cool. You know, he was the micro-base guy that could pull off these crazy 2-base attacks.
Yeah, and we don't really think of HerO as a macro player all that much. He is not the sort of person that will be rolling around with 200 in a 6k bank. He wants to make things happen early in the game when control can be used. Like you said, you know, there's not so much you can really do with a 200 supply army when it comes to fancy footwork.
Yeah, it becomes kind of a death ball. And of course there's still micro involved, but it's not the type of micro that HerO sets himself apart with.
No.
So, you know, he wants to use his strengths early on, and we'll see how he chooses to end up doing that this game.
HerO being very diligent, removing overlords from the map, which is nice. He already got the scouting overlord in the base. He caught the one over to the side there with the mothership core. So that's nice. That means that DRG for the moment is flying blind on his side of the map, and aggression has begun. And was anyone surprised? No, of course not. We have double Stalker, Zealot, mothership core, and probe rush towards the third base here as DRG tries to build up the Ling and Queen count to deflect it.
Well, the probe is kind of interesting. In fact, he's going to throw up a pylon, which I wasn't really expecting, but okay, we'll see if he actually gets any weapons in. With these two stalkers in the mothership core, he can do a lot, but I don't think he can do enough here.
He lost his Zealot very quickly to an excellent surround here from DRG, and the probe went down as well. So, while these two Stalkers are annoying and they've managed to pick off a decent number of Lings, a Time Warp was used there to not amazing effect. Really, only something thrown down to make sure DRG couldn't then surround the Stalkers. It was used to allow HerO's Stalkers to escape, which, of course, is very important. Losing those Stalkers basically says, I've lost all map control, do whatever you want. A DRG would love to try and catch them. In fact, it looks like he might. HerO's out in the middle of nowhere with those two Stalkers. DRG's gonna take those.
Oh, that sucks. HerO did a good job saving them, but then to leave them there, I guess he just... You know, here's the thing. This goes back to that gas scout timing, where he moved in, and as soon as he left, DRG made the gas. So he really didn't think speed would be done right then. That was as quickly as speed could have been done without him knowing about it.
This
so that
core's
was
actually gonna die! Wow.
Nice. Whoa.
That... Jeez. That, not a great start here from HerO. I mean, he has, of course, enough to secure his base at the moment. There's nothing Lings could really make their way through there. But losing the mothership core, there was no reason to allow that to happen. And, of course, those two Stalkers, he thought he was safe. And, as you said, speed completed before HerO expected.
Yeah, it's rough, man. But that was good play by DRG, I have to say. And it was a cute little attack by HerO, but at the end of the day, losing Mothership Core, a Zealot, and two Stalkers to force a few extra Lings and kill a few extra Lings wasn't really worth it. So we'll have to see if he can kind of recover from that. He is getting +2 in Blink without a third base, so we might be seeing that 2-base all in.
Oh, well, Ling Run-By is on the way. It's going to catch a probe, and there's a pylon wall-off that's been created, but there is that one cannon. I wonder if HerO will decide to turn back here. He should be able to warp in a unit or two, but I'm just a bit worried that he will not be able to maintain this wall. He warps in two Zealots, perfectly placed Zealots, to complete the wall off. That is the HerO we know and love, certainly, and he will re-wall off there. And now he's threatening this fourth base from Dongregyu with a fairly significant army. He's up against, right now, unupgraded Roaches and a few Lings.
Well, DRG's going to have to get a lot more than what he's got right now. It does go in for a nice round, but Blink is finished. Going to go ahead and force field the bottom of that ramp so the Roaches can't stop him. Does force a cancel on this fourth base, but he's got to do more than cancel a fourth base here.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Canceling the fourth is great, but DRG was not necessarily even expecting that fourth to live at the best of the times. Like, okay, fine, you know, I might as well give it a shot, especially considering I've killed your map control. But HerO is getting aggressive. He's about to have +2. He will be up against +1 Roaches, but that's +2 with Blink and a decent number of sentries with a Mothership Core support there. The surround comes in from Dongregyu. He does have a lot of Roaches coming in from the side, and HerO is sent packing. The sentry is caught out of position completely.
Oh, that was brutal. Losing all of his sentries there, taking a lot of damage on these stalkers as well. I don't think he's going to be able to even hold this pylon now. There's just too many roaches here. Doesn't even matter how good your micro is in this situation.
He's in a corner. You don't micro out of that. And Dongregu just comes in with a wrecking ball. It's 50 supply to 134. Dongregu looking absolutely dominant in this match. GG. Ladies and gentlemen, and the first map here in this best of 3 series goes to Dongregu in a resounding fashion.
Yeah, that was a little bit one-sided. Unfortunately, his early harass didn't really work out. That quick gas grab after he scouted caught him off guard, and his 2 base all in, it fell short. I'm a little bit sad here. That was more one-sided than I was expecting.
Yeah, I was expecting maybe a little bit more out of HerO, and it seemed like, especially with those Ridicule force fields and his re-wall-off looking really good, it's like, yeah, this is the HerO we know, but Dongregu, he had great creep spread around his third, so almost all the fighting was going on there. He smelled what was coming, and he was able to get a great surround and focus down those sentries. There was still sentry energy available. There could have been force fields, but really, I don't think there was even enough sentry energy to create enough force fields to make that work. I mean, he was still kind of out in open territory where a big surround could happen.
You know, it is true. It was like a hard place for him to attack through. I think that the all-in altogether was maybe a little bit too slow there. DRG just had too much for him to get in and get into position right away. Maybe he needed to skip the 4th and go right to the 3rd, something like that. But whatever it was, man, he needs to go ahead and fix it, because we need the dream Totalbiscuit. What we need is HerO to win this group so that we can have that marvelous match tomorrow of HerO against HerO.
Yeah, we do need that. You know,
That's the dream.
We were considering it, but the way that we had to set the groups up, because it was actually HerO's birthday yesterday.
Oh, wow. Happy
so
birthday, HerO.
Yeah, so we actually did. He requested to be in Group B, of course, before he knew what the groups were. I think he now maybe regrets it, considering. But you know, there was no safe group for HerO to be in. But regardless, yeah, we put him in Group B as he was having birthday celebrations. So here's a hope that he doesn't bomb out of this group. He needs to get things together here. Next map will be Frost, so there's all sorts of great possibilities for HerO to pull all manner of things here.
Yeah, I gotta say, I really would prefer for him here to go into 3 bases for an attack like that, because you can still definitely do like a +2 Blink Stalker attack off of 3 bases, but at least that'll give him some sort of backup if it starts to go wrong like we saw in that last game. Whereas on 2 bases, if it goes wrong, you just GG and get out of there.
Yeah, I think you do. But it's not like HerO can't play off more than 2 bases. He absolutely can, and we might see a macro game out of him here on Frost. We'll see. But Dongregu is looking on point, I gotta say. DRG did not make mistakes that game, and frankly, he got small victories that he had no right to have. I mean, getting that Mothership Core really shouldn't have happened. Getting the Stalkers, understandable considering the speed timing, but still, those are nice little victories that you don't expect to get. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Frost LE shall be the venue for the next encounter to the southwest position. In the Blue Trunks, currently down 1 game. In your best of 3 series, the Liquid Protoss, he is HerO.
And in the southeast position of our map, an amazing Zerg player in the red trunks, it's MVP's DRG.
DRG seems like the kind of person that could really rock a pair of red trunks, gotta be honest.
Oh, absolutely. This guy, he's a fashionable guy. He's actually a really funny guy. I've gotten to take a lot of plane trips with him, since obviously we both live in Korea and have gone to a lot of foreigner events. And a very, very friendly and dresses pretty well.
All the Koreans at least think they dress pretty well, at any rate. I do have
fashion out here is cutting edge, to say the least.
Cutting edge would be one way of putting it. Ryung, Alicia, and Crank were in New York last year for WCS. I believe it was Season 1 in New York when MLG was still doing it. And I was out there to cast. And I promised them, I asked them, look, what food would you like to try while you're here in New York? And the resounding opinion was steak. Yeah, we want to have steak. Like, okay, well, New York's a pretty good place for that. We should be able to sort that out, no problem at all. So I look it up, I ask around the MLG office, and we decide on a reasonably upmarket but not ludicrously expensive place. But it has a dress code. And I check what Ryung is wearing, and it's bright green Crocs.
Yeah.
And I check what Alicia is wearing, and they're bright blue Crocs. So I'm standing there in my suit and tie as HerO puts a pylon behind the natural here as the forge is about to finish, and just said to them, "You stay behind me and everything will be fine."
Did it work out?
It did. I am taller than they are, thankfully.
Excellent.
We snuck in. Alright, well, DRG is already pulling drones and has actually stopped a cannon from going down. That's assuming that HerO ever wanted to do that in the first place. He is going at the Nexus immediately. He did put the Forge down at a pretty good time, but the thing is, it's also part of the wall-off as well. Is this very much just an opportunistic attempt here by HerO, or was he planning to cannon rush?
Yeah, you know, I think he wanted to, but was prepared to just make the Nexus. You know, nowadays you're going to try to cannon rush like 70% of the time in this matchup. It's just like the in thing to do. But against DRG specifically, this guy never doesn't check for it. Even before it became popular, DRG would always either send a drone immediately to your location or have a drone literally looking for exactly what HerO is doing. So it never really had too much of a chance here against DRG.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, it's not really that much of an investment. It does suck to lose a pylon. It also sucks, of course, to lose your scouting probe and not get that out. DRG's drone micro on point by the looks of it. But, you know, 5 drones were pulled, and they were pulled for a decent amount of time. It's not the worst thing that could have ever happened to HerO. It's by no means game-ending, and he just trucks on regardless.
Yeah, you know, everything's completely fine, and even those Zerglings staying behind to kill the pylon allow him to skip his cannon for, like, a really long time. Like, he doesn't even necessarily have to get a cannon until he decides to move out here. So, everything's actually totally fine for him here, and it looks like DRG just gonna go right into a pretty normal third base.
Yeah, and he doesn't actually know where HerO is at the moment, although he can suspect based on the timing of that probe getting its way across the map. Frost is a little bit big, so if a pylon turns up in your natural that quickly, you can assume that he's going to be fairly close by. But he does, of course, need to confirm that and confirm what HerO actually has. And HerO's doing pretty well on the work account here. With the Chrono Boost, he's got his 2 Nexus up at a good time. Another pylon going down here for HerO. And this one actually has gone unscouted.
Well, we'll see if he can actually get something going there. Is he just going to try to throw down cannons?
I think so.
It's kind of a risky move, but if this works out, it'd be huge. Oh god, a Zergling coming up. And you know what? There's only 2 Zerglings on the map. If he just makes enough cannons, this is actually maybe going to work out.
Yeah, and this probe is actually going to win the fight against the Zergling, considering the Zergling got walled in by the looks of it. Oh my god, HerO, you!
Wow.
That is so slick.
Well, with 2 queens here, I'm now really doubting that this is going to work out right, but he's bringing up a Zealot, he's bringing up a Mothership Core, and he is really trying for it.
Yeah, and that cannon is going to finish on full health, and he is going to protect it as best he can. He gets the Zealot into a decent corner, but he actually, unfortunately, misses a few swings with it, so he could have got a few more attacks going on there. But this cannon is still up, the Mothership Core is still up, there are links coming in, Time Warp goes down, and HerO losing his Mothership Core again. Stalker is trying to focus down this queen and is going to get it, although he needs to get out of there right now. These cannons have been annoying. There's 2 more, and I think this has worked. Only just.
Yeah, it might. There's still a lot of links coming up. You know what? Actually, he's going to break these cannons, I think. Like, with 2 queens coming up to tank and then all these Zerglings flanking it, he should be able to save this hatchery, which is going to be a little bit sad for HerO here. He's put a lot into this rush.
Yeah, that is true, and there is only 1 pylon powering this, and as you said, the flank collapses there, and I think he did go back into focus fire after that. He's brought Stalkers in to try and finish the hatchery off, but he's not going to get it. Even if, I don't know, maybe if he had focused a little bit more on that instead of allowing the cannons to auto-attack, he might have got a finish on it, but that's only a maybe. Like, the hatchery was still at about 200 HP, cannons only, of course, shoot for 20 each, so probably not. Regardless, there's now a lot of lings at the doorstep, but they have no way in.
Well, they're slow as well. And the one thing we can say about that cannon rush is that it forced these Lings, and he's kind of low in drones for the time
only
being.
38.
So, I mean, it wasn't all losses,
No.
but definitely didn't do what he wanted. If he had ended up killing that hatchery, I feel like he would be in just fantastic shape. But as is, DRG can't be too upset with where he's at.
Man, it's a shame that those double Stargates that HerO has been building didn't have one Void Ray out of them just to go and kill that hatchery. That would be nice. Admittedly, it is a very large investment for something you don't necessarily want at this stage of the game. But we are seeing double Stargate Phoenix, which is really cool against Zerg. Seen that quite a lot in mostly Wings of Liberty, actually, more so than Heart of the Swarm. So it's not the most usual build at this point, but it can work very well.
Like, double Stargate is really HerO's build. He's the first guy that really started doing this a lot way back in the day, so he knows what he's doing. With this many Phoenixes coming in out of nowhere, he's going to kill all these Queens, plenty of Overlords, and plenty of drones. He's only going to be limited by his lifts at this point.
Yeah, 6 Spore Crawlers coming down. The Hydra Den has already finished, and of course there are going to be upgrades for range, but like you said, that's going to be a lot of dead Queens. Shame Phoenixes can't shoot down. That hatchery is still on 230 HP there. Lings managed to get a surround and are sort of threatening this third base location, and that Photon Cannon's not going to go up either. There are so many Lings that will be able to kill that, but the harassment goes in. Phoenixes go down because there are 2 Spore Crawlers there, so a decent amount of damage has been done here. And DRG denies that third base location.
He does, but he is spending a lot of Zerglings to do so. Doesn't have nearly as many as he had before, and with this Zealot support, I think HerO will be able to get up his third base while continuing this pretty big harassment with these Phoenixes.
Yep,
Actually, he's done a pretty good job considering how weird and messy this game has been.
Yeah, it certainly has been. Oh, that's a free Hydralisk, and it's strange for a lot of people, I think, to say, well, Phoenixes kind of counter Hydras, and they kind of do. If the Hydras are in the wrong place at the wrong time, Hydras die so fast to Phoenixes, but, of course, Phoenixes die so fast to Hydras. And if you got a nice big ball of Hydras, then you're not going to be able to touch them. But those small numbers, especially if you're reinforcing from multiple hives, and multiple hatcheries, in fact, can be really risky.
And more to your point, he's actually creating more Phoenixes as he sees how many Hydras there are. He's like, oh, you have Hydras, I better make more Phoenixes. And it seems counterintuitive sometimes, but, you know, it's definitely something that can work out. And, you know, obviously he's going to need to have a decent ground force as well, because the Phoenixes really can't tank much damage. But if they come in from the right angle, man, they definitely can devastate this Hydra army.
What I'm a bit worried about is the composition of HerO's ground army at the moment. He doesn't actually have anything that would really fight all that well against Hydras. If he had charging Zealots, this might be a different matter, but they're not. And this is going to be an interesting fight. Time Warp goes down. The force fields are looking pretty good. And he does bring in the Phoenixes to try and get the lifts, and he gets a decent number. Of course, he's going to lose Phoenixes in the process. The sentries tickling away and doing a good job of holding this so far. But what's on the ground here for HerO is rapidly melting away. He needs to bring in more reinforcements. That single Zealot is a brave one, but he will fall.
Well, he is warping in some more Zealots. He's almost out of lifts, almost out of Phoenixes as well, but still lots of Hydras and Lings here. Uh-oh, it looks like he's going to lose this third base, just barely not going to hold on.
Yep, he doesn't quite have what he needs to make that happen. The Hydra DPS is just too good at this point. There are not enough Phoenixes to hold this either. DRG knocking on the front door, trying to bust through the Hydras. More Warpins are coming in. This struck, of course, before the Colossus could come out. Extended Thermal Lance is nowhere near done either. The Forge falls. The third base will die, and DRG is looking to take a swift 2-0.
Oh, I tell you, you know, we said that he was very stylistic, and we see that reflected very well in this game. Losing all of his sentries there. Oh, when you lose your third base like that, you lose a lot of Phoenixes, you lose all your sentries. That's so hard to come back from.
Yeah, it really is. And HerO is not looking up to DRG's position at this point. You know, he's not... He doesn't even seem like he's in the same league at the moment, I've got to say. And DRG's just playing out of his mind and making no mistakes.
Yeah, DRG is like countering everything just right. You know, even when he gets caught off guard with those Phoenixes out of nowhere, makes 6 spores immediately, really minimizes the damage that they do. Look at this, he's even popping out Corruptors to help out against the Colossus, knowing that's really the only scary unit left for HerO.
Yep, those Phoenixes getting caught out, another one goes down, although they do take a Corruptor somehow, as, you know, killing a Corruptor with Phoenixes takes a while, but it happened. That's some dedication there. There are Void Rays now being added on into the mix. Extended Thermal Lance is about to be done. There is a Mothership Core. He doesn't have the energy